Hey, good morning everybody. So today we're going to do a driver's review of the Progress sway bar install. This was installed a couple months ago and it's a pretty good upgrade for handling and performance that I think doesn't really jeopardize the OEM feel. So let's get started on that. So straight out of the gate, on this little turn right here, there's not a lot of noticeable improvement, but we don't expect it to really get noticeable until we get into the sharp turns. So this is just kind of like a wide sweeping left-hander right here. We'll make a turn onto a road where there's a little bit more curves to it, so we'll see what happens if we push the limits just a tad and see if we can notice a difference in the turn in and understeer, which is pretty typical for front wheel drive cars. Anybody familiar with the 03 CL Type-S will know that it's got a limited slip differential, which lends itself to correcting some oversteer. And here we go, we're going to take a right onto this street, and we've got wide open. So let's give it the beans. Alright, here's our first test. Going into a sharp left-hander here. Yep, and we can notice right away with this that that turn would typically push the car out. And that would be indicative of understeer. So the car wants to, in an understeer condition, doesn't want to grip and it just kind of wants to slide out. Well, with that rear sway bar, there's definitely a noticeable difference there. Car turns in really sharp, holds the line really well. So let's continue on our little journey here. We've got just a little bit of a straightaway, and then we're going to go into a sweeping right-hander back into a left-hander, which if we back off the traffic in front of us just a tad, we'll see what that looks like and what that feels like here. So we're going to go really sharp in, 60 miles an hour down through here, and we're holding really well. I took that turn a little inside, but just because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have a bit of an issue there. And really the car hooked and didn't have any signs of understeer, which is really good. That's what we would want. So far I would say that, yep, this is a really good upgrade for the amount of money. It definitely corrects that understeer in. So we're doing 55 into this turn. We got a little bit of traffic ahead of us, which is pretty typical in the morning at this time. I was hoping we'd maybe get a little bit more before running into traffic. It is a cold day here in Vermont. 33 degrees is our readout on the car. I do like to warm up the tires a little bit before doing something like that. Unfortunately, that's just not possible. These roads are not the greatest condition. I mean, we're post-winter here. You can still see some snow on the side of the road. This road in particular has a lot of patching on it, so you see it's a bit of a bumpy ride. This is the same road that I took the Tane Flex Z's review on. You can see a big bump right there. And now we're just kind of holding back due to traffic. We'll pick this up when we get back onto the highway, because there's another turn right onto the on-ramp that I like to really push to right into the on-ramp. This turn right here would be really fun if we were going at some speed. Unfortunately, it's not fun today because we've got some slow traffic in front of us. This right here, this turn, that really shows a lot of understeering cars. You know, even with some of the other cars that I've owned, taking it into that turn, often you get like, you know, this really weird feeling that it's coming out of the turn and the car just wants to not hold the line. This car used to do that initially, and I would say that most of that was due to the hold on one second here, we got a little bit of a slowdown. So most of that was due to the suspension of this car, because we were rebuilding it and we were, you know, refreshing the components of it, and we noticed that there were some lower ball joint issues. So let's see, we're coming up on the on-ramp here. Maybe we will get a little bit of a break. I'll back off to see if we can get in. Alright, so we're coming into the turn. And let's see, we got some traffic. Let's see what happens when we come into this turn. Really aggressive. Yeah, that held the line really nicely there. No issues. And now we're getting up to highway speed. Alright, so that's our review. All in all, I would say that the Progress sway bar, rear sway bar upgrade is a great, I guess a mild upgrade for this type of a car. You know, this front wheel drive car with a limited slip, like I said, definitely lends itself to steering a little bit better into the turns than, say, a typical front wheel drive car. But with that rear sway bar upgrade, you can notice the difference. It definitely dead hooks into that turn. There was no tire screeching. There was no feeling that the car was trying to understeer into that turn. You know, a combination of things that we have at play here. We've got a refreshed front and rear suspension on this car. We also have really good Hankook performance tires, ultra high performance summer tires on this car. And now with that rear sway bar upgraded, we can definitely notice a difference. And for, like I said, the amount of money that you would spend and the amount of time that it takes to install this sway bar, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. I would highly recommend that people look at upgrading their rear sway bar on this specific platform, which is somewhat shared with the Accord. So all in all, I would give it a thumbs up and suggest that you, if you're looking at doing an upgrade to your suspension, besides coilovers and upgraded struts, you know, rear sway bar, that's the next piece of the puzzle, I would say, if you're looking for a good handling, nice cruiser. Now, this is an adjustable rear sway bar upgrade too, so you have two settings on this one. You have a softer, which is what this car is at right now, and a harder. I decided to go with the softer setting just because I feel like this is a more street performance setup, not a race car track setup. If you're doing a race car track setup, you might want to go with the more aggressive and harder setting on this sway bar, just because you're going to push the car more to the limits. But for everyday driving like what I'm doing, I don't think you need to do that. I think you would actually decrease the performance in a street setup with a firmer setting. So take that in mind, that you can adjust this, but depending on where you're at with your setup, you know, i.e. track or just street performance, you might want to play around with it, be a little bit more cautious, and go with the softer setting, and then go to a firmer setting if you're not getting what you're thinking you would expect with that upgrade.